So where do I start? I was grooving 90s hip hop, R&B, and all of a sudden, I started getting really, really hungry for Korean barbecue. And that's it. That's my inspiration. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Have a great rest of your day. I'm kidding. You have to listen to me for another 5 to 6 minutes. But back to the club. What better way for ideas to pop up anyways? Drunchies and a love for Korean barbecue and Ariana Grande. And so, by the way, if you don't know who I am, just know that somewhere out there in the world, there's a video on YouTube that's a parody of Seven Rings. And it's about Korean barbecue, and I'm in it somewhere. It'll look really hard. And sorry, back to the club. So Seven Rings had just dropped by Ariana Grande, and I was obsessed with the song. Listening to it on my drive to work. I was singing it while doing chores. I was singing it at my parents until they yelled at me to stop. And I thought in that moment at the club, you know, it'd be hilarious, a Seven Rings parody, but about Korean barbecue. Because my line of thinking was, you know, you've got 7 rings, all your favorite things. Instead, you could talk about your favorite meat cuts of Korean barbecue. And I thought that was so funny that I posted it in a Facebook group called ACN, Asian Creative Network. And many of the people are here today, actually, that are members, so hi. And it's a blossoming network of Asian creatives from all over the world, Australia, Europe, here in America. And I posted it in there thinking, wow, somebody's gonna think this is funny. I'm gonna get a couple likes, a couple laugh reacts, get some bonus points there. And when I posted it, to my surprise, somebody actually did reach out to me. Morgan, our music producer for the project, reached out. And he said, hey, if you're serious about this, I'm serious about this. Let's do it. And my reaction to him was, why not? And that reaction, that attitude, is something that's perpetuated throughout the entire project. And I'll get into that in just a little bit here. So next thing I know, Morgan and I are staying up late. We are Skyping because he's actually from Washington, and I'm from Southern California. So we had to match our time zones. We were writing the lyrics, laughing because we found it really funny. And we made another post in ACN saying, hey, if you've seen our previous post about Korean barbecue, just know we're serious about it. So if you want to be a part of it, let us know. And we got a lot of responses. So Scott, our director, hopped on board. And next, Sabrina, our editor and producer, also hopped on board. And within 1 week, we went from a drunk and hungry idea to a 30-person music video production crew. And we had a choreographer, we had a director of photography, we had a VFX guy. I don't know how we pulled that off, but we got a VFX guy. And so we had a whole team. And at first, I want everyone to know that we were all strangers. We had never worked with each other before. We have never met each other before. We didn't know each other's personal lives. We knew nothing. And yet we blindly trusted each other. This is probably really bad practice in actuality. Probably don't want to do that with your projects, but we did. And my line of thinking was, well, technically they did send me their experiences, their portfolios. I did not look at that. I just said, sure, go ahead. And so I accepted these people into this project. And my line of thinking was, if you're crazy enough to want to do a Korean barbecue parody of Seven Rings with me, I assume you have the talent and the guts to do it anyway, so I'm going to trust you. And it ended up working seamlessly. All of us trusted each other so much, and it worked so smoothly that we, to this day, think that it was fate that made this happen in the first place. These people are now some of my really good friends. I also want everyone to know, second off, that I had absolutely no idea what I was doing coming into this project. And I had no experience doing this before in my life. I was a communications graduate at UCSD, and I'm working as a claims adjuster for an insurance company. And I can't tell you which one, but I'm pretty sure you're a member. I'm working that boring 9-to-5 job that all creatives dread. So I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. And the most creative experience I've ever had was sneaking in a couple creative writing classes between my computer science courses to appease my parents and my communications classes to appease my major. I was a captain of a ship that I did not know how to steer. And this was very obvious. In day 1 of our meeting, everyone I knew and they knew that I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And at that moment, when I saw their faces sink a little bit, I was expecting them to jump ship. I was expecting them to abandon the project, drop the idea, and say, wow, I'm not going to do this anymore. But instead, I found myself rather amazed by the kind of people that I was working with. They could have left, but instead they stayed. They were patient, they were didactic, they were so helpful, and they were kind to me. And that is the biggest thing that I will always remember. They didn't have to stay. They could have found a project that was more worth their value, more worth their time, a project that could actually pay them. But they didn't, and they stayed the entire 1.5 months it took to produce this video. I can never thank them enough for their patience and their kindness throughout this entire project. So I hope that everyone who works on a project similar to this or anything at all has the kind of people that I was lucky enough to run into, because that really made the difference. Like I said, I was worried we were going to lose traction, that we were going to lose passion for this project, that they were just going to burn out at some point and say, this is kind of dumb, let's quit. But actually, nobody felt that way. We all carried this positive energy with us. And every time we had a meeting, instead of asking, why do we do this, why do we do that, we asked ourselves, why not? Why don't we have a boba pool, like a pool full of boba? And we didn't ask, why would we have that? We said, sure, how are we going to make this work? So we bought an inflatable pool, filled it with disgusting things I don't want to talk about, and put little fake bobas in there. Why don't we have a dollhouse from the original video? Okay, how are we going to get a dollhouse? Let's build one, said Gina, our production designer. And we did, we built it. Why don't we have, instead of a champagne tower, we have a soju tower? And so we put it in. Thank you, Scott, for putting that in the director's cut. So when this video first launched, we were ecstatic. I personally didn't care if one person saw it and it was my mom, or if 1 million people saw it. I was just so happy that it was physically out there in the world for people to watch and see. And the fact that we created this thing out of nothing, it opened a lot of doors for me and for others. So for me, it led me to believe that I could do so much more than I thought I could. I was collaborating more with people in ACN. I was doing photo shoots, I was making music, I'm working on a novel, so a lot of all these things that I never thought I could really do before. And for other people, Amy on the left there, she just had a release party last night after she branded herself as Bad Amy and is releasing music now, so congrats to her. Bree is going on she's a choreographer, she's going on a life-changing road trip to figure out what she really wants with her life. Our friend Josiah is making a film. Mickey on the right learned sword fighting the other day, so that's great. So this whole project taught us to look beyond just our own experiences and just go out there and do it. I was so used to limiting myself and my potential, telling myself that I could only do what I was qualified to do. But this project opened up my mind, and it really did tell me, hey, you can go out there and do the things that you set your heart to doing. Yeah, and that's what we did with this project. From the start, it was all about pushing boundaries to see what we could accomplish even if we had nothing. And we really did have nothing. We're all broke creatives. We're still broke creatives after this video. And we had a budget of like $1,500 of generous donations from our parents. But despite all of that, we still came together and we made it. So if a silly drunk idea from a hungry ABG can turn into a 30-person music video production, what else can you do if you stop asking yourself why and start asking yourself why not? Thank you so much. Does anyone want to see the video?